Welcome to Podcast Learn and Fun. Let's start today's journey of learning by talking about,
Smell.
you use it every day,
Right.
even if you don't realize it,
Uh-huh.
your sense of smell. We often focus
Or eyes.
sight and sound, but smell is this incredible sensory world
Absolutely.
that's often taken for granted.
It's true. Smell is vital for so much more than just enjoying a pleasant fragrance. It's deeply intertwined with our survival instincts,
Yeah.
influencing everything from how we choose food to how we detect danger.
I find it fascinating that smell is considered our oldest sense,
Really?
like a direct link to our evolutionary past.
Exactly. Imagine our early ancestors relying on their noses to find food, avoid predators,
Right.
and even to navigate their surroundings. It makes you realize just how powerful and essential this sense truly is.
So let's talk about how this amazing sense actually works. What's going on inside our noses when we smell something?
Well, deep inside your nasal cavity, there's a region called the olfactory epithelium. It's like a microscopic landscape filled with millions of specialized cells called olfactory sensory neurons.
Okay, so these neurons are the key players in the whole smelling process.
They are. And what's really cool is that each neuron has these tiny hair-like projections called cilia
Okay.
that extend into a layer of mucus. When you breathe in, odor molecules, those tiny particles that give things their smell,
Yeah.
get trapped in this mucus.
So it's like a sticky trap for smells.
Exactly. And when those odor molecules bump into the cilia, it triggers a chain reaction that converts those chemical signals into electrical impulses that our brain can understand.
It's amazing how our bodies can translate something as intangible as a smell into a language our brains can interpret.
Mm-hmm.
But how does our brain actually make sense of all those signals coming from the nose?
Yeah.
It seems like there would be so much information to process.
That's where the olfactory bulb comes in.
Okay.
Think of it as the brain's central processing unit for all things smelly. The olfactory bulb is responsible for receiving those electrical signals from the olfactory neurons and organizing them into meaningful patterns.
So it's like a sorting station for smells.
Precisely. The olfactory bulb takes all those incoming signals and creates a kind of smell map,
Okay.
where different areas of the bulb respond to different types of odors.
It's incredible to think that something as complex as a smell can be represented spatially within our brains.
It is. And it's this spatial organization that allows us to perceive and distinguish between a vast array of smells.
Right?
It's how we can tell the difference between, say, the sweet aroma of baking bread and the sharp scent of freshly cut grass.
It's like our brains have this incredible filing system for smells. But it's not just about identifying what something is, right?
Right.
I mean, certain smells can evoke such powerful emotions and memories.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's because the olfactory bulb has direct connections to some key areas of the brain involved in processing emotions and memories.
Okay.
The amygdala and the hippocampus.
I've heard of those parts of the brain, but I'm not entirely sure what they do. Can you refresh my memory?
Of course. The amygdala is like the brain's emotional center,
Okay.
particularly when it comes to fear and pleasure.
Uh-huh.
And the hippocampus is where our memories are formed and stored.
Okay.
It's like the brain's giant library of experiences.
So it's the connection between the olfactory bulb and these areas that explains why certain smells can trigger such vivid memories or emotional responses.
Right.
It's like a direct line from our noses to our emotional centers.
Precisely. And that's what makes the sense of smell so unique and powerful.
Yeah.
It's not just about identifying a scent. It's about experiencing a whole flood of feelings and memories associated with that smell.
You know, I've always wondered about this. How come some smells can transport us right back to our childhood, while others, even if they're pleasant, don't have the same effect?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
It likely has to do with the intensity of the emotional experience associated with that particular smell. The stronger the emotion, the more deeply that memory gets encoded in our brains.
So a smell that's linked to a very happy or very sad moment is more likely to stick with us.
Exactly.
Okay.
Those emotionally charged experiences leave a stronger imprint on our brains.
Yeah.
And the smell becomes a powerful trigger for recalling those memories.
That makes so much sense. It's
Yeah.
like our brains are saying, pay attention, this smell is important.
And that's why the sense of smell can be so evocative and personal.
Right.
What triggers a flood of warm memories for one person might evoke a completely different response in someone else.
Yeah.
It all depends on our individual experiences and the emotional associations we've formed with certain scents.
It really is amazing how much our personal histories shape our perception of the world, even when it comes to something as seemingly simple as a smell.
Mm.
And speaking of how powerful smells can be, have you ever noticed how much of what we call taste
Hmm.
actually comes from our sense of smell?
You're absolutely right. When we eat, the molecules in our food release into the air inside our mouths. And as we chew and swallow, those molecules travel up the back of our throats and into our nasal cavity, where they interact with our olfactory receptors.
So it's like those odor molecules are taking a secret back route to our noses.
Exactly. And it's this interaction between smell and taste that creates the complex sensation we experience as flavor.
Okay.
Our taste buds provide basic information about sweetness, sourness, saltiness, bitterness, and umami.
Right.
But it's the added dimension of smell that gives us the full, nuanced experience of flavor.
It's like a collaboration between taste and smell,
Mhm.
working together to create a masterpiece of flavor.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had a bad cold and noticed that everything tastes bland, it's because your sense of smell is blocked.
Well, I've definitely been there. It's amazing how much we rely on our sense of smell to enjoy food.
It really is. And it highlights just how interconnected our senses are and how they work together to shape our overall perception of the world. But beyond taste, smell plays another fascinating role that we often overlook.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. What else does our sense of smell do for us?
It plays a crucial role in social interactions.
Wait, really? I usually think about body language and communication.
Right.
When it comes to social interactions,
Yeah.
how does smell fit in?
It's all thanks to these fascinating chemical signals called pheromones.
Okay.
Pheromones are like invisible messages that animals, including humans,
Uh-huh.
release to communicate with each other.
Okay.
And our olfactory system plays a role in detecting and interpreting these signals, even if we're not consciously aware of it.
So we're sending and receiving smell messages all the time without even realizing it. That's wild. What kind of messages are we talking about?
While the role of pheromones in humans is still being studied and debated,
Right.
research suggests they can influence things like attraction, mood,
Yeah.
and even mother-infant bonding.
Okay, so maybe that's why we feel drawn to certain people
Yeah.
or why babies recognize their mothers. It's like our noses are guiding our social interactions in subtle ways.
That's a possibility. It's a fascinating area of research, and there's still much to learn about the intricate ways that smell shapes our social world.
This is also fascinating. I never realized how much influence our sense of smell has on our lives.
Yeah.
But how do we stack up against the rest of the animal kingdom in terms of our sense of smell?
Well, compared to some animals, our sense of smell might seem a bit, shall we say, underwhelming.
Really?
Take dogs, for example.
Okay.
Their sense of smell is estimated to be anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 times more sensitive than ours.
Wow. No wonder they're such amazing sniffers. What makes their sense of smell so much more powerful?
They have thousands of different types of odor receptors, far more than we do.
Okay.
It's like they have a whole symphony of smells playing in their noses,
Right.
while we're just hearing a few basic notes.
It makes you wonder what it would be like to experience the world through their noses. It must be an entirely different sensory reality.
Must be.
But even if we're not sniffing champions like dogs, our sense of smell is still pretty remarkable.
It is, and while we may not be able to track a scent for miles or sniff out buried treasure,
Right.
our noses still play a crucial role in how we experience and navigate the world around us.
This has been such an incredible journey into the world of smell. It's like you've opened up a whole new dimension of sensory perception for me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to pay more attention to the world of smells from now on.
I encourage you to. It's an amazing sense that often gets overlooked, but it enriches our lives in countless ways.
Absolutely. And before we move on, I have to ask, are there any other fascinating facts about smell that our listeners might find surprising?
Well, one thing that people might not realize is that our sense of smell is constantly changing and adapting.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed how you can get used to a smell after a while?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like when you first walk into a bakery, the smell of fresh bread is overwhelming.
Right.
But after a few minutes, you barely notice it anymore.
Exactly. That's called olfactory adaptation. And it's a clever way for our brains to avoid sensory overload.
Okay.
It allows us to focus on new or changing smells that might be more important.
So our brains are basically filtering out the noise of familiar smells and tuning into anything new or unusual. It's like our noses have their own attention spans.
That's a great way to put it. It's a testament to the remarkable adaptability of our sensory systems.
Right.
But what's even more fascinating is that our olfactory system is actually quite plastic,
Okay.
meaning it can change and reorganize itself over time.
Wait, so you're telling me our sense of smell can actually improve?
Yes,
I always thought it was something we were born with and couldn't really change.
that's a common misconception.
Okay.
While genetics certainly plays a role,
Yeah.
our sense of smell is more dynamic than we often give it credit for.
So there's hope for those of us who wish we had a better sense of smell.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For example, people who lose their sense of smell due to an injury or illness can sometimes regain it, at least partially, through therapy and training.
Okay.
And even those of us with a perfectly functioning sense of smell can actually train our noses to become more sensitive and discerning.
Really?
How does that work? It's all about actively engaging with smells.
Okay.
Consciously trying to identify and differentiate them.
Mm-hmm.
Think of it as a workout for your nose.
Okay.
You can incorporate different scents into your daily routine, like taking time to really savor the aroma of your morning coffee or exploring the nuances of different spices in your cooking.
So basically, by being more mindful of the smells around us, we can actually sharpen our olfactory abilities.
Exactly. It's like any other skill.
Right.
The more you practice, the better you get. And the more we engage with our sense of smell, the more we appreciate the incredible role it plays in our lives.
I'm definitely going to start incorporating some smell workouts into my routine.
Yeah.
You've inspired me to pay more attention to the world of smells around me.
I'm glad to hear it. It's a world filled with wonder and surprise.
It certainly is.
Mm.
And now let's dive into the fascinating world of animal olfaction. We've touched on dogs and their incredible noses, but what other olfactory wonders are out there in the animal kingdom?
Well, if we're talking about olfactory champions, we can't forget about elephants.
Elephants, really. I know they have those amazing trunks,
Right.
but what makes their sense of smell so special?
They have the largest number of olfactory receptor genes of any mammal studied so far.
Wow.
Scientists estimate that elephants have over 2,000 different olfactory receptor genes,
Whoa.
which means they have the potential to detect a vast array of scents.
Wow. That's incredible. So they're like the ultimate smell experts.
You could say that.
Yeah.
And those long trunks with their sensitive tips act like incredible sniffing tools. Elephants can use them to sniff the ground, sample the air, even to reach up into trees to sniff out fruit or leaves.
They're like olfactory multitaskers. What do they use their incredible sense of smell for?
It's crucial to their survival. Their sense of smell helps them find food and water in harsh environments, detect predators, and even recognize other elephants from a distance.
It's amazing how much we can learn about the natural world just by exploring the sense of smell. It's like a window into the sensory experiences of other creatures.
It truly is. And it makes you realize just how much more to the world than meets the eye. Or should I say, the nose.
Well said. And speaking of our noses, I'm curious, are there any smells that are universally appealing or repulsive to humans? Or is it all subjective based on our individual experiences and cultural backgrounds?
That's a great question. While there's no definitive answer, there are some interesting theories out there.
Okay.
Some researchers believe that certain smells might trigger innate responses in humans due to our evolutionary history.
So like hardwired reactions to certain smells.
Exactly. For example, the smell of rotting food or feces is generally considered repulsive by most people.
Right.
It's likely a survival mechanism to steer us away from things that could be harmful.
That makes sense. It's like our noses are trying to protect us. But what about smells that are universally appealing? Are there any of those?
Well, some smells are often associated with positive emotions,
Okay.
like the smell of fresh-baked bread or blooming flowers.
Okay.
These scents tend to evoke feelings of comfort, warmth,
Right.
and maybe even a sense of nostalgia.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah,
Those smells are often described as comforting or welcoming.
right. But it's important to remember that our cultural backgrounds and personal experiences also play a huge role in shaping our olfactory preferences.
So a smell that might be considered delicious in one culture could be completely off-putting in another.
Exactly. What we consider good or bad smells is often influenced by social norms, traditions,
Yeah.
and personal associations.
Okay.
It's like smell is this invisible language that can connect us or divide us depending on our cultural understanding.
That's fascinating. It just goes to show how much more complex and nuanced the world of smell is than we often realize.
It truly is, and it makes exploring this sense all the more intriguing.
This whole conversation has been a real eye-opener, or should I say a nose-opener. It's incredible how much we take our sense of smell for granted,
Yeah.
yet it plays such a vital role in our lives.
I couldn't agree more. And I hope our listeners have gained a new appreciation for this amazing and often overlooked sense.
I'm sure they have. But before we move on, Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience about the amazing world of olfaction?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that our sense of smell is a gift.
About
It connects us to the world around us in ways that we often take for granted.
Beautifully said.
So I encourage everyone to take a moment to appreciate the sense in their lives,
Yeah.
both the familiar and the new.
Yeah.
Explore the world of smell with curiosity and wonder, and you might be surprised by what you discover.
I love that. It's like a call to action for our noses.
Exactly. Let's all embrace the power of scent.
Well, on that note, I want to thank you again for joining us today and for sharing your expertise with our listeners. It's been an absolute pleasure learning from you.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for tuning in to Podcast Learn and Fun. If you like our videos, please subscribe, click the like button, comment, and share. See you next time.